Have your list down physically. Don't have your appointments in your mind. It's not going to work. Sorry, guys. Let me just put this on real quick. Sorry about that. So have your list ready. Who's on that list right now? How many do you have? How many people do you have to call? Now add to that list. And here's where kind of, I think a lot of us don't use as often as we should. We focus on what do we have new. Here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. Go back to people you've been meaning to call, right? Jemalee and Donald, you probably had people when you first started here. Rob, same thing. You probably have people when you first started here that you put on the list. And that for whatever reason, you just never did QA. It rescheduled on you or it pushed back. Go back to the beginning. Go back to that list, the original list. You will probably find 2 or 3, 4 people that you haven't gone back to, that you can go back to. Right? Go back to family members who maybe have rescheduled on you, or procrastinated, or pushed it back, or or canceled. I'm gonna call my mom. I'm gonna put her right now. Right? I just thought about it now. Mom, I've known my mom for a long time. She has been one of my greatest assets, one of my greatest referral sources. Guess what? I'm gonna, hey Mom, hook me up with 1 or 2 more people. Go back to that. One thing that I know it hit me when I was putting this together. Make sure that all your teammates have their plan in place. Look at the closes. That's probably the hot market, guys. There's no way if you have a teammate who doesn't have their plan in place. I mean, do they really believe in what we do? Go back to that. Go to your new teammates market. Right now, understand, a lot of them are not going to have the same urgency you are going to have. They just won't. Do not expect that. You have to drive the ship, not them. Their goals are not your goals, right? Your friends and family, they don't understand. My mom doesn't understand what we're trying to do here. She doesn't get it. It's not her job to know. It is our job to have that urgency and to drive that through. Call old clients and get the referrals that you meant to get in the first place, right? Anybody did an appointment, you had a good appointment, you closed them, it made sense, you talked about referrals, and they say, yeah, I'm going to get you some people, this and that, and then time has passed by, it's like, man, wait a minute, you never gave me the referrals. Go back to those people, right? When you're doing your pending report and you're speaking to the clients and you tell them, listen, here's where your life insurance is at. Here's the, the time frame of the process. By the way, I know we talked about referrals before. Thank you for helping, giving me this person and that person. Who else do you know that just had a baby, that had concerns about, their debt situation or their retirement? Who have you spoken to recently at work? What just happened? I'm messing with my stuff, guys. Okay, so go back to those people. Go back to some old prospects. Over the years, we have developed a list of just people that we've spoken to in the past, right? And I use the Google Drive, where I have an Excel spreadsheet, and I kind of always put little notes on who I prospected, their situation, kids in that, where I met them, whatever the case was. And time passes by fast. And guess what? I started reading a few of those. Oh, man, I got to call this guy back. I got to call that person back. I remember our conversation. And nothing may ever come from it, but guess what? Who cares? Call them. Right? Don't leave any stone unturned. Flip everything. There's enough time 10 days to do all of that. And you would be surprised what you're going to come out with. And then who are you closing today? Who are you closing today? What recruit am I going to get? What sale am I going to get? What appointments do I have with my teammates? Who are we closing today? So with 10 days left, by the way, like I said in the beginning, there's a lot of time here. A lot of time. Do not waste it. Leverage the blitz, right? Whether you on with Shaq, who does his blitz there, I'm assuming T and Shay do theirs, right? So make sure you're on that one. Have a goal, as I mentioned before. You know, I spoke to the leadership team on our group yesterday. You know, we had a Zoom, and they said we're going to hold each other accountable. We set up goals for today to set up 10 appointments for this week. For most of them, they have never done that. That's going to be a challenge. So I said, be prepared. One thing I started doing, I started texting Shaq every day, right? I'm telling you, here's a message. Hey, here's our goal for the month. Here's where we at. Here's what we're going to do today. You know, there's natural accountability that comes with that, guys. There's natural accountability that comes with doing that. And sometimes, you know, so what happens when you have that accountability and you don't hit those numbers? What happens? What are the concerns? Anybody?
You're just being depressed.
You get depressed, right? Who said that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry?
Charmaine.
Exactly, Charmaine, right? You get depressed. And how do we respond to that when you're depressed? Like, man, you know, we wanted to hit these numbers, but it just didn't happen. What happens there? You tend to not do more, right? You tend not to push further. Or you tend to push it for the next month.
Yes.
I worry about it next month. We're gonna hit. I'm gonna be excited. You know what the equivalent of that is? The New Year's resolution every year. Every year, people have the same resolution, and you start excited, clean slate. You're excited about it, and within 2, 3, 4 weeks, what happens? You stop, and you go back to your old habits. And you know, there is when it comes to habits, and it goes back to the beginning, like I was saying before, in regards to the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, as far as what we do, what dictates what we do. Charmaine, I'm going to read something to you, and hopefully, what this does, you know, I listened to a TED talk maybe about a year and a half ago by Angela Duckworth. She wrote the book. Grit. She wrote the book Grit, and she talks about the perception of success in America and how we win. You know, what separates those people that win at a high level and rest of us who are just average and ordinary, right? And the natural perception, Autry, is the fact that, you know what? They're special. You know, Samir just is so good at what he does. He has the gift of gab. That's why he got the 45,000. Shaq is this. He's a natural born leader, right? You know, Shay is just intelligent, right? I'm not really that smart. I spoke to a gentleman today, right? The guy, I prospected him. He worked at the deli. Last week, I originally prospected, just kind of mentioned a few things. And this morning, I'm chatting with him. And I said to him, listen, by the way, if you know anybody, I'm right now looking for 10 or 15 new agents this year as I'm in the process of expanding. If, by the way, notice what I did. I'm looking for 10 to 15 new agents this year. There is a subliminal message there. When you tell people, and this is on a side note, when you prospecting and you tell people, Donald, a very finite number, in their mind, their natural response is, can I be one of those 5 to 10 or 15, whatever the case may be? As opposed to, I'm looking for a lot of people. Then they just feel like a number. So I said to him, I'm looking for 10 or 15 new agents this year. So let me know if you know anybody, man. I really would appreciate it. You know, my company is exploding. We're expanding. And you know what he said to me? He had this face almost like, man, what about me, without saying it. And what he asked me told me everything. He said, do you have to kind of like be smart? What kind of, person are you looking for? You have to be smart. Literally, that's what he said to me. See, the perception of success or finance or what we do always, for most of us, revolves around intelligence or talent or natural abilities. Maxwell has a great book called Talent is Never Enough. I'll show you something. Angela Duckworth talks about in the book Grit, and she defines success. She defines achievement. Now, when most of us think, Charmaine, of achievement, again, it goes back to our perception of what we believe it is and how we take ourselves out of that picture. If achievement is down here, right, which is what we all want ultimately. Now, don't yell at me if I didn't spell it correctly, all right? I know some of you are really smart, generally. I know it ain't Donald, so Donald thinks I always spell it right, right? But if your goal is to produce, if your goal is achievement, if your goal is success, where does it begin? The perception is talent. You come in here and you have the gift of gab. You know how to close. You know how to speak well. But guess what? Regardless of your level of talent, Charmaine, you have to add effort to that. You have to. That right there determines your skill level. Think about the LeBron James, the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants of the world. Look at great example, Tom Brady. No one will ever argue that Tom Brady is skillful or talented physically. No one. If you think about talent, he is probably the last when it comes to natural skills on the football field. But yet, no one has ever achieved what he has. Why? Because regardless of his talent, the effort he put in developed the skill set. Now, the skill set in and of itself still doesn't equal achievement. Once you're developing those skill set, like a lot of you are, understanding how to answer objection, closing, right? Breaking down policies, the interview process, the development process, the orientation process. Those are skill sets you're developing and you're putting the effort into that. Then you got to work it. You got to add effort to the skill set itself. What made Kobe Bryant one of the greatest? Sure, he's talented. Sure, 6'6", some natural abilities. But even in the later part of his career, I remember he didn't do well in a game, and the very that night they lost the game. He went out and took 1,000 jump shots at the gym that night. Why? He's putting an effort to his skill set. That is what led to achievement. That's what led to greatness. So if you notice, what is the common denominator here? Effort. effort counts twice towards success. So Charmaine, when you are looking at your goals for the month and it feels like they're far, or it feels like you can't reach them, or you hear about it, because sometimes that happens too, right? You hear Donald and Rob and Mr. Kane and all these people doing well, like, man, they're closing, and Samir closing 40,000 in premium, and you kind of think to yourself, man, that sucks. That's not me, man. Look, listen to Samir. He's so good at this business. I can never do that. Don't ever fall into that trap. That's not true. Samir has a decade and a half of experience, a decade and a half of effort that he's put in. Don't confuse his natural abilities now with luck. He put in a lot of time. Young lady, the thing you haven't put in yet is the same time. That's all. And look, be okay with you, Charmaine. Be okay with you, Gemma-Lee. Be okay with you, Donald. Mr. Kane. Be okay with you, Kenny. That's good enough. Just keep working. Keep putting in the effort you need to. The rest will take care of itself. I promise you. And then here's what's going to start to happen. So in this book, The Answer, right? I read this a long time ago, but in putting this together, it kind of reminded me about something. There's something called the Grand Fallacy. Right now, I want to give everybody, if you know the answer, get yourself on. 6 frogs sat on a lily pad. One decided to jump off. How many were left? What's the answer? 6 frogs sat on a lily pad. One decided to jump off. How many were left? 5, right? Who's that? That's Rob Kane, right? 5. Who agrees with Rob Kane?
Didn't we go through this last week or earlier this week?
Yo, shut up, Kevin. You on the? I mean, really, Kevin? Of course you were on my team, man.
All right, just making sure.
I love muting people in this thing. I love it. Thank God my boo is saying, "Now I'll mute you too, boo." Right? But yeah, duh, right? Be quiet if you're on my team. 6 frogs sat on the lily pad, right? So Rob King said 5. If you answered 5, congratulations. Your capacity for analytical reasoning is in good shape. Unfortunately, that is not the correct answer. The correct answer is 6. All 6 frogs are still on the lily pad. Why? Because only one decided to jump off. He didn't actually do anything. How many people decide to do this business? Everybody we recruit, they decided. How many people actually do the business? It's a whole nother ball game. It's a whole different perspective. I believe most people live their lives that way. We judge people based on their actions, but we judge ourselves based on our intentions. This is exactly our grand fallacy. We think that because we have imagined something, understood something, figured something out, planned something, decided something, or it is a foregone conclusion that we are going to do that something. But in most cases, we do not. And by the way, I love it. Kevin said, didn't we hear this yesterday? Oh, this week, I think it was Wednesday, I did the training on it. Well, guess what? Your butt needs to hear it again because you haven't done anything in the last 3 days. Let's be real. If you want to talk, let's talk. Right? What are you doing? Because we strongly tend to identify with our conscious thoughts. This is what it comes back to. And what I was saying when I was reading this, Angela Duckworth stated in this TED Talk, anybody who has kids here, one thing that Tanya and I are constantly, trying to